You're listening to a Lost in the Groove segment.
Having good vibes with your bones and joints. Taking a trip into the groove. American groove into stoner world. Gonna play.
See, if it was the morning, we would know it's the morning. Because we know it's the morning. But we know it's not the morning. Yeah, good morning. That's what we were trying to say. God, I don't even know where to start because we've had pretty insane weeks. I mean, I just came back from New York and had an insane flight, and you've just started a new job. And who wants to take turns over here? I mean, this is American Groove. I mean, Dave can take a turn. Karissa can take a turn. Somebody take a fucking turn because, like, hello.
I got off work. Okay, I have a job now where I literally cannot check my phone while I'm like on the clock. I mean, I probably could, but like I can't get to it to check it. And so I got to my phone and I was gonna call David like, oh shit, you know, and like you wouldn't believe what my day was like. And then I look at my phone and instead I've got all these texts from David like, oh my god, girl, call me. Shit has happened. And I was like, oh my god. Like I was like, but that's not really what it said. It was just like, you know, that's what I got from like the series of messages. I was like, oh
100%. This is Karissa. You don't expect anything less.
No. You said that shit has happened and I needed to call you. I was like, oh my god. Okay, so I called you and I was like, what's going on? And he was like, so my flight's delayed. And I was like, oh.
Again.
Yeah. So David was stuck 4 hours. In LaGuardia.
For 4 fucking hours. Okay. I was stuck in that airport for 4. First of all, I went to upstate New York. So it was 2.5 hour drive just getting to the airport alone. And then on top of that, they delayed my flight to the point that I didn't get home. Like I didn't get back to Florida until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like we were on the phone. You remember this. And it was just insane. It's insane.
I live in California. I'm like still awake, you know, and I honestly should have went to sleep last night, but I like couldn't. I don't know. This past week's just been like a fucking rush. Like everything. There's so many things about my life that are so different right now than they have been. And you know, I mean, you went out of town this weekend. I just felt like I still got to talk to you quite a bit, but yeah, I feel like you like went out of your way for a friend and you went out of your way is what I noticed.
Yeah. I literally got on a plane, left Florida, went back to New York, for a friend's graduation. And it's weird because I was raised in New York. For where I'm from. Hello, can you hear this insane accent coming out of my mouth? So, being there now, 3 years after the pandemic, it's just mortifying. It no longer looks like the place that I grew up in. It has completely changed. The attitude of people, the choking of Karissa's guts, spitting all over the wall.
I almost forgot that we were recording for a minute.
That's fine. We didn't even do introductions.
Just like I thought that we were just talking.
We're fucking talking.
I know we are, but like for a minute I forgot that we were on the podcast. I was like, oh, I'm hanging out with Dave. What's up? Yeah, I'm hot. Yeah,
and hot sexy. Chick. Ooh la la.
Ooh la la. I have a pin. I have a pineapple. David was stranded at the airport yesterday.
This is what she tells me on the phone. I was like, what?
He was so pissed. Like he was on the phone and like they were like doing the thing where they make the big announcements like over the loudspeaker. And I talked to him my entire drive home because he was just like pissed. And you know, like he was like, listen to this, girl, listen to this. And then he like I hear the speaker like going off and he's like, oh, they're just gonna straight up cancel it now. And I was like, oh, I was like, this is terrible. Cause like I had a terrible fucking flight with trying to leave town for Christmas, and I was
Well,
like
I remember
crying.
this.
They
Yeah,
were treating me like
we were
a
the
like I
opposite. It's
was
kind of
an insane
funny.
person. Yeah.
It was kind of funny because like you were on the other end, like we were talking on the phone. You're like, I'm going
Yeah.
crazy over
Yeah, I
here.
was
Like
like,
this
they're
is
treating me
insane.
like I'm insane, you know, like, and they wouldn't do anything to help me, and they
You
were like,
told me
"Ma'am, you need to
this.
calm down." And I was
You
like, "I
told
haven't even shown you my
Okay,
crazy."
this is insane. She messaged me. Okay, she's like, I'm heading to the airport. And then I think it was like an hour or an hour and a half later,
They won't
you're
let
like,
me get on my plane.
yeah, and you're like, I'm going home. I'm like, what do you mean you're going home?
It was terrible.
I was like, you're not coming down here? And you were like, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? It
I
was
beat
just,
myself up about that forever because I feel like if I had well, and then we found out that if I had been more assertive and gotten my ass on that plane, that I just would have gotten stranded in Texas. But I mean, there's a possibility that, like, you know, Texas could have gotten me down to Florida, but there actually weren't any flights going, like, all those flights had gotten canceled too. So it
yeah,
was
because of
like,
the weather.
it was said that, you know, it was good that I didn't get onto that flight, you know, like after we like looked at how everything played out. But I mean, being stranded in Texas wouldn't have been the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like I was
You might
going
have bumped into
to
Joe Rogan. You might have bumped into Dave Chappelle. Who knows? You know, got a smoke from
well, I
Snoop
have
Dogg.
friends.
Hey.
Yeah, I know about like 15, 20 or more people that live in Austin, Texas that would be
That's
like happy to
right.
see me. I don't know, you know, a lot of people they have work and they have schedules and stuff like that, you know, so it's like you don't know if anybody's going to actually be able to be available when
No,
you're
not
there,
really.
but you know, I mean, it sucks like when somebody pops in town and you don't really have the time, you know, to do something with them, but
Well, I
if they're
messaged the person. I had a friend of mine, Jude, in New York, and I didn't have time to see her, but I messaged her anyway. I said to her, I said, "Hey, I'm in New York. I was upstate, so I wasn't able to visit. I just wanted to let you know, And then I
Mhm.
told her like next time that I do come out, I'll make sure that we can make time. I did that because like I feel in a
Yeah.
friendship, even though you're like in the same place and you don't like have that physical connection all the time, just be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to see everybody when you are like traveling to a place. Like I know that when I visit home I want to see people but I you know can't really like see everybody. So
Right.
I
It's not
definitely
really
should
possible.
at least like send messages to people and be like, "Hey, like I really love to see you. Hopefully next time we get back together." But I'm almost like so ashamed of the fact that I like didn't make time. But
I think it's
when
I think it's a way of showing appreciation and also sense of respect to the other person because even though
yeah,
you
way to
weren't
make
able
me
to
feel like shit. God. Go on.
No, but I like to look at it as a way I thought about you and if I had the time, I would have made it for you. That's
Yeah.
the way that I want to like come off, even though I usually come off as being an asshole. But
Sometimes
uh,
I don't really know what to do. Like at my parents' house, I honestly like to do nothing. Like I really like to just like be there and not have any plans and just
just
like
hold a
be
gun, just sit down a
yeah.
rocking chair on the porch, just rock
Yeah.
back and forth and scream at the kids and be like, "Hey, Charlie, if I see your motherfucking ass one more time in the street, I'm gonna whoop you all the way back to White Trashville." Is that a thing in Iowa? I don't know.
No.
No,
No.
no. Okay, wrong
Some
wrong state.
people
Okay.
I'm sure there's areas, but my neighborhood, you can't like yell at people in the street
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
No, you can only whoop
You
them in the
could
house. Right.
maybe yell at your own kids if you want
Okay.
to, but
If the door's closed and the
everybody's
windows are
pretty
shut.
like peaceful and respectful and stuff. I mean, there's some areas where people are a little bit more trashy, if that's the word that you want to use, but I mean, for the most part, everything's like pretty like, you know, people are pretty respectful to one another. Yeah, sometimes people are
I'm just like
mean.
I'm just fucking around. Like
People treat their kids like that, though.
they
They
do.
just like scream at their kids like that. I
Oh, I know
know,
people like that. I know people very close that I know like that.
but I think like there's also, like you gotta set a kid right every once in a while, or they're gonna like be total idiots. So, I mean, like it's good for a parent to be kind of like assertive, but like in a good way would be the best. I don't know
What
how.
about
I'm
what
just
about
saying there's something honorable about being like, like do what you're supposed to do. Like, like I do what I'm supposed to do as your parent, and so like I deserve your respect because I care for you and make sure you have your house, and like you have to have those conversations or kids just don't get it. Like they don't like if you don't tell them like you have to shut the door because the air conditioning equals your toys. Like, do you understand? Like, I have less money for your toys if we
listen,
don't shut the door.
you sound worse than when the bank calls me, okay? When my bank calls me, I'm sweating balls, but just the
Don't
way
tell me that like your parents never taught you, how to be resourceful with your money, and they
my
never
dad
like because I
my
know
dad
that
ta-
they did.
yeah, my dad taught me primarily resources in regards to like
He taught you a lot of stuff with food, like, he taught you
yes.
how to, like, bargain shop when like, buy the right foods to save money and stuff, so I know
Yeah.
that. That's why I was saying this, that, like, I know that, parents get after kids in that kinda way, like, so I know you know what it feels like.
No, you know that you know that I know. You know. So you know. You know?
Well, you got anything to say about that?
Well, it's kind of weird because as an adult, and I have time to be able to think about this. As you get older and you start to become, I guess, wiser within age, just general like learning day to day.
Yeah, understand, like, as I've
It
gotten
may
older, I understand people better. I'm, like, more aware. I've had more experience with different situations. I start to understand, like, what I want, you know? I think, like, before, when I was younger, I just kinda, like, go at things with not exactly like, I'm able to control myself for certain outcomes that I want, if that makes any sense.
it does. It makes total sense. It's like one thing I have realized more than anything is I have limitations for myself. Like I have things where I'm not great at communicating. A lot of the times, like I don't know how to. I don't know where to start. And you're really great at this because you just come straight to me in my face and you're like, "What is going on? Is it about this? Like, what do you not? And that's great because there's an excellent balance where you're able to help me open up more and be able to
Yeah.
connect more. But the biggest issue I find now is when you find those connections and relationships with people, the more similarities I have with that other person, the harder it is for me to relate with that person.
The more similarities you have with
For
them?
yeah,
So I just I feel like the reason that this type of dynamic, like, the reason that I am like that with you, like, I'm very forward because 'cause I'm not like that with everybody, but with you, I'm comfortable. So there's something about, like, your personality and your response that, like, makes me comfortable enough to be direct with you. So you might think that, you're not doing things correctly, but you've at least created an environment where messages can be received, which means that, like, you're not, like, extremely reactive. Like, I took a college level communications course in
oh, I
preparation
remember this.
for
I
my nursing
remember.
degree, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved it so much, and I talked about it all the time.
Uh
But
huh.
that's one thing is, like, you gotta create an environment for messages to be received, and you have to, like, not react a whole bunch when people tell you things.
See,
Like,
I had to
and that's something
cancel.
that I learned getting older is I
I
had
have to
to
tell you
not
this.
just react back, you know?
I have to tell you this. This is the reason, folks. This is the reason why I canceled my Discovery Channel like subscription is because for literally 3 months, this is all Carissa talked about, and the thing is,
It's fascinating.
it is, and it
I'm
really
sorry.
opened. No, you're fine, but it's just where you're able to open yourself up and really be able to learn and understand a person. I like to say the key ingredients to make a great foundation in a relationship, personally, in my opinion, is honesty, respect. What do you think the third one is?
Um, I mean,
Communication.
yeah, communication, but also like I think in a friendship, some type of like consistency with like behaviors or responses really help build a relationship. Like this, like knowing what you might get from a person is something that really is a great foundation for friendship. Like, it's really hard for friendships to continue to grow when you just get a different thing from the person every single time that, you talk to them. But, like, having that really, like, that consistency in our friendship of, like, every time I talk to you, you are always kind of, like, there. Like, that type of thing. Like, I have friends where I try to reach out to them and they're just nowhere, and it's like they'll be around for like a week or two or like, and then they come and go and they've got other things, whatever else. But like, I think that when friendships really start to grow is when you have like a consistent like response from the person, like over and over again. Like it's like, oh yeah, like let's hang out this weekend again, like, and it starts to become this like consistent like, hey, I'm going to a party with my friends, like you should come this weekend, or like it's Saturday, what's going on with you, it starts to become like a consistent, we hang out all the time. That's where friendships like go boom, because I think that there's a huge, it's really hard to like get that close to somebody.
Especially now, because with all of the changes, the ways that people are able to communicate, literally, you can. I mean, we're a great example of this. We've been virtual for about 3.5 years. And
It's fucking real.
yeah, it's been about,
Like,
yeah, it's been about three.
no, 3.5 years.
Okay, look, I don't make up the numbers. The numbers exist the way that they are, but there's a way of being able to see the pros and cons and things. And like you said, the thing about relationships is when you put on multiple masks with people, when you show constantly different personas and different personalities, the other person is not able to ping or be able to connect with you in any way because they never
Yeah,
know what they're going to experience from you. Whereas you
that
want to
is
stay
what I was
consistent.
trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on.
But
Sorry.
it's like we're consistent. It's like consistency isn't boring. Consistency allows our brains to understand human patterns that are different to ours. So you have to basically understand that stone
Mhm.
mindset is not just about connecting and being like, whoa, that's so deep, bro. Nah, it's also understanding brain chemistry. Because the whole idea of us humans interacting and understanding the world around us, we need to understand on how our brains are interacting with one another. Because that's what it does. That's what we're doing right now.
I don't think a lot of people think about it. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people are. I mean, me, work, go to sleep, wake up, work, go to sleep,
Fuck
wake
yeah.
up,
Oh yeah, baby.
over and over again. So, unless I'm taking a class on it, I might not have time to think about it.
Mm,
You know? So, I think
yeah.
for a lot of people, it's like their grind, their job. We're not all thinking about how our brains work with each other and how to communicate the best and like blah, blah, blah.
I
There's a
I'm
lot
a
on people's shoulders, you know?
I I want to just say this. A lot of what I learned in regards to communication and relationships, I had to learn all of this on my own. I still suffer horribly with relationships and have a very difficult time keeping them for long times. Like Chris and I, we've been, it's probably one of the longest relationships I've had. And the thing is, we've been able to make something like this, like create a podcast, have an audience like you guys here.
Podcast is cool.
Yeah. And we're able to do this because just like we as people have to grow together, it's very hard to be in your life alone, doing every single thing by yourself consistently all the time. But it's so much easier when you have another person there. You know, another person to communicate with, another person to share memories with.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was talking about how, like, I kind of,
yeah,
like, there's certain things that, like, with television and Netflix and, like, different shows and stuff like that where, like, I don't really watch them because they would be more fun to watch with another person.
100%.
Like, that's one thing that, like, I like watching TV, but I almost like watching TV with someone else more than I just like watching TV by myself. Like, unless it's like a show that I really want to see, you know, like I'm like, oh, I've been waiting for that to come out. Like, I don't just like watch TV to shoot the shit. Like, I will like with friends, but I won't do that alone. And I think it's weird when I have like my behaviors are different just because there's like another person. But it's like, you know, maybe that's not weird. Maybe that's a good thing. You know, like you need to be
Every
flexible
single
for other
person
people.
every single person you're going to have a different relationship with. Like, for example, the relationship
Yeah.
I have with you is not going to be the same relationship I have with another friend. You know, and I don't, I hate when it's used in a way of like you're being two-faced. You know, you're showing one side of yourself to one person and then you're not showing yourself to another side of a person.
I
But
mean, yeah,
I don't
that's a
know. It's
cool
just,
idea to think about it like, you know, because it's like for
yeah.
someone to say that you're like two-faced, you know, like, oh, well, you're like this with, I think I used to worry about that kind of thing when I was like a teenager, you know, like if we have any teenage listeners or like people who
Oh,
are
we
like in
do.
junior high,
Yeah.
that was something that I really struggled with when I was younger because I found myself doing that and I still do it. But what I realized is that with different people, there's different parts of myself that I'm comfortable showing and that I wasn't really comfortable showing all parts of myself with other people. And why should I be? You know, I mean, like, that's okay. Like, you're as comfortable as you are. And those are things that I didn't really understand or I wasn't okay with. Like, you know, when I was younger, I felt bad about myself. Like, why can't I be, you know, the same person with everyone? And it's like I think it's just part of self-discovery, like
Yeah, it
continuing
is.
to grow your who you are and who
Finding
you're comfortable
patterns.
being. Yeah. Yeah, figuring out how people respond to all the parts of you, you
Right.
know, like because 'cause you're just, like, showing little parts of yourself to different people and, like, figuring out, you know, like, what type of response you get from these things.
Can
Uh
I be honest with you about something? This is why, especially like when it comes to even my own sexuality, I feel that it's such a personal thing and it's a personal
uh,
developing thing where over time you learn to be able to figure out yourself. Like, since I've been a teenager, since I was a little kid, I've been kind of figuring it out along the way. And we've talked a lot about like just with ourselves and the type of relationships we want to be with people romantically. And
yeah, Pride Month is, hard for, me. I don't know if other people feel I'm sure there's other people where Pride Month is kind of hard because I grew up, you know, closeted and grew up in like a closeted world. And so for me, there is some type of like, well, I'm happy all you get to grow up, you know, just out in the open. Yay for you. And I am like, yay for you. And I think it's great. But there is this little inkling inside of me that's like, you don't know what it was like to have the whole world hate you and for you to actually 100% pretend. And I'm just speaking to the person
Right.
who, not everybody, but I'm saying like the person who's going to judge me and not understand me. That's who I'm speaking to. And I'm talking about like, it's it's kind of, I don't know, I hold a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling just because of I didn't get to grow up like out in the open. And I I still, go out and like support and cheer on everybody, and I'm so happy that things are out in the open, but I think it is something for people to pay attention to that maybe other people didn't get to grow up in an environment where you could be like, as open as you wanted. And so it's a
I
reminder in a way.
right.
But I know that we need to do it, but it kind of like it irks up crappy feelings, I guess is what I'm saying.
It does, but the thing that I find again is sexuality is it's a personal thing. It's a personal thing that each person goes through, and it's something again, especially with, like, we've been talking about relationships. It's something that you develop with another person romantically, and I have such a hard time where awareness turns into politics and where people's rights and responsibilities of understanding that hiding who you are because it meant punishment.
For me, it was
And
like
yeah,
I didn't want to be excluded. I didn't want anybody to have any like reason to keep me out
yep,
of the things that I wanted to do. Like I
yeah. But
was
you know
afraid
what the funny thing is though? It's weird because why would you want to be with people that doesn't want to accept you? But
because I
wait,
want to
wait.
be on the cheerleading team.
But you don't. I don't know. It's hard for me to
Why
explain.
no?
Like,
Why would you want people who don't accept you? Why would you want their acceptance? Because they're the only people around. There weren't other people around. Like
but why do you?
everybody was
But
people who
why
don't
would you
accept you.
need? But why would you need
You
another
need
person's
somebody, don't
acceptance?
you? Like you need friends. I needed
True.
friends. There
Yeah.
weren't I mean,
You
I
don't have
guess
to
I
open up about certain things with.
had like one or two
Yeah.
friends who maybe knew, and that's like it. But like otherwise it was like I didn't want everybody to know cuz I just
Right.
didn't know what could happen.
I know.
I don't know. And then it's weird for me like to see like people who are like totally open in situations that I was scared to be in. And I'm like, "Wow, I can't believe this is working." I just always thought it would be terrible if I had just said the truth from the beginning. And it's just so weird like to I don't know. I can't and I don't know. Maybe it would have been weird because the world just wasn't ready for it then. I don't know. I don't know how to it's just a very confusing thing that I should probably talk to a therapist about.
The truth is, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
The, the the honest thing for me is I accept who I am. I do, to a certain extent. And at the same time, I don't want my life to be public. I don't want my personal, like, I'm talking about, look, we're friends over here, but there's shit we don't talk about on the podcast for very obvious reasons.
Mm.
And again, there's nothing wrong with privacy. And I feel, even for myself, that having things that are personal should be cared for, should be understood. It's, what else do we got, honestly?
Yeah, privacy, yeah. I mean, like it's weird. I think that people use a lot of their social media to show off who they are, like and like prove that they are who they want to be. Like they like use their Instagram to say like, "Here, see who I am. see all the things that I do, everything that I am, see all my photos, see all my videos, see me. And I think that it would be really difficult to just say I am who I am with no social media at all. Imagine it. You have no platform to show anyone to say this is who I am. You know, you got no photos of like all the things that you do and pictures of you with your friends, and there's no way to just look at you and just say like, oh, that is who that person is. So, you know, I think people use their social media to like create like who they are. Like they like set up like a storyboard of like, this is who I am. Look at me.